Welcome to the One Gen Academy podcast. This is everything health, wellness and fitness all under one roof. My name is Kieran and I've got 15 plus years in sports rehabilitation, fitness and health. I've been heavily involved in research and the practical application of it. I offer a results-based service, which is why I bring to you today. Enjoy.
Welcome everyone. I'm joined today by a fantastic guest called Lewis Dutch. He's a health and wellness personal trainer, someone I've known for quite a while and I've worked with myself. He went on a journey himself, I guess you could say, transitioning from a career in IT to becoming what he ultimately believes in and living by his core values, and that's to improve the health and vitality of others. He works with people not just on a physical level, but on a mental, emotional and spiritual level, focusing on natural movement, whole food, and ultimately the bigger picture. He currently leads a 12-week total body and mind transformation program called Transform, which will develop a new positive emotional habits while getting physically stronger, leaner and healthier. Within this program, you get an individual lifestyle and physical assessment, personalized exercise sessions to correct posture, improve movement, look great and so on. Bespoke nutritional plan for your metabolic type, access to an online training platform, and support and mentorship throughout. Sounds fantastic. If you're interested in this program, you can contact Lewis directly. Okay, he loves a chat. And his email address is email@lewisdutch.com. That's email, the word, at Lewis, L-O-U-I-S, Dutch, D-U-T-C-H, all lowercase, .com. So without further ado, please welcome Lewis Dutch.
Hi and welcome. I'm joined with Lewis Dutch, who is a health and wellness personal trainer. I've known him for a while. Fantastic trainer, in fact. So, Lewis, if you could just tell us a bit about your journey, why you got into the fitness and wellness industry, kind of where you come from and where you're going, really.
Hello, how are you?
Awesome.
Good to see you again. We see each other often.
Yeah.
Where I started from in terms of fitness is from a very young age. So I would have been kind of around, 9 or 10. I guess that's when you're out and about playing outside. Yeah. I guess it grew from there. Trying to keep active. At that age, you're out with friends, playing football, doing all these sorts of things, and that kind of regresses as you kind of move into the world of, your exams, going on to, work in an office environment, for example. And I always tried to keep that going. So I at a young age, 19, 20, I would have been a regular gym goer, and ever since that day I've been going to the gym. I've been trying to keep active. I think I've stayed a similar sort of weight to when I was in my early 20s anyway, so
lucky you.
That's a good thing. I was in the world of IT quite a few years back, and it was quite sedentary, being either sat in a car or an office. And I found that I wasn't doing anything that was kind of satisfying me. It wasn't giving me any purpose, really. And
so why? So you were training. What possessed you to go into IT? Because I've got a feeling it's a similar story for a lot of people where they have this love, this passion for maybe fitness, sport and so on, and they find themselves in the exact opposite job or role where it's just sitting down,
been drained by a laptop or whatever it is.
Well, that's it. I fell into that kind of industry. My brother works in that line of work, and it was just something that kind of was in front of me, and I just went for it. It was a job that paid okay, and in the beginning, that's what you think is perhaps the be all and end all. You want to earn money, or that's one of the main things you think about at perhaps an earlier age. But as you grow older and wiser, you just, there's more of a health aspect that comes on board, and I just felt that I wanted to be up and around and moving, and I was interested in taking the personal training course, the level 2, level 3, and it just kind of went from there really. And I was always interested in picking up weights,
lifting heavy stuff,
and just getting a bit of a feel-good factor physically and mentally as well from doing that.
Yeah.
And I thought perhaps I could help others.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it merged. I eventually took the courses. I merged from one field of work to another, and I found myself, up and around, walking around, moving things, and I generally felt fitter when I began this line of work.
Yeah.
I started to think more about not just the physical side, but where I was, mentally, spiritually as well, especially when it comes to the food.
Yeah.
Everything kind of fell into place. And I just, now I try to practice what I preach, really.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Nice. So what was the thing that possessed you to go from IT into PT? Was there a particular day or an event that happened, or?
Well, I did have some influence from a friend of mine, a friend of ours. You know him as well.
And that friend is
Alice Perez. Al Perez.
Alish.
Yeah, and we met quite a few years back, and we just happened to be talking about health and fitness, and I was always one of these guys that would have like a whole big pile of men's health fitness magazines, and I
standard.
Yeah, and I thought that's what it was all about. And then he introduced me to a chap called Paul Chek.
Yeah.
And from there onwards, it just changed. It was more kind of there was a deeper aspect to the whole, fit health and fitness.
I think deeper is the word. An understatement, but it's definitely deeper.
So I started doing my research on this guy Paul Chek, and I was just blown away. I realized that the health and fitness industry just kind of scratches the surface with what it does, and it's kind of all based around calories and weight loss, and it's kind of a bit cheap. I just think that a lot of people out there, a lot of trainers out there, kind of, I don't know, they just there's too much emphasis placed on perhaps apps and numbers rather than how the individual's body feels.
Okay, yeah. So I guess when we look at kind of apps and numbers, so there's a lot of emphasis placed on the technology side of it.
And the science side, yeah.
And kind of the more clinical aspect, but it might lose the ability of, okay, why are we eating? It's almost like the human element is not there. It's like on paper, you eat X amount of calories.
Yep.
Calories in, calories out. If you don't take as many calories in as you burn, then you'll lose weight. And on paper, brilliant. But just like anything on paper, you could argue it's really good until the human element comes in, and we know there's a lot more to it, like, the emotional side, the spiritual side, and so on.
Well, I think that's designed to lose, in the long run. If you're in a position where you want to lose weight, I think that people look at it from a negative perspective, and that's where people will always gain weight again further down the line. It doesn't become a lifestyle, it becomes something that people almost punish themselves for, and that's the way it's marketed. It's weight loss, not health gain. And I come in from another angle. I come in from the angle that you should want to gain health.
Nice.
And obviously the weight loss will be the byproduct of the good things you do, rather than purely just writing things down in terms of numbers, or walking into a shop and looking at the numbers on something and thinking, oh, I can't eat that because it's not the way we're designed to live. You know, I know we're exposed to more and more junk food and more, sugary foods, and the lack of quality is out there. There's a lot of suboptimal foods out there, and it's all around us. I get that, but I think that the only good thing about perhaps something like an app, or whether you count calories, for instance, is it can calibrate you in the beginning, but after that, that's as far as it goes. I think you get to a point where you need to kind of look within and just get an idea of how you feel when you eat foods. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think, I guess on that note, like, I've always felt if you have a genuine love for yourself, so you're right, the technology kind of calibrates you initially, gives you an idea, gives you a picture about, what's coming in, what's going out, like a bank account. But ultimately, it's how you treat that bank account that determines the longevity of whether you're going to have the stable finances or not. And I think sometimes that the food we take is almost like a love issue. Like, I know, for instance, if I have had a really, really stressful day, for argument's sake, I'm definitely more likely to eat chocolate. And that's not out of love, that's out of more of a negative, almost stress response. See what I mean? Like, if you truly kind of love yourself, you will give the nourishment that you need.
Yeah, because you're present with yourself, aren't you? If you're stressed, you're rushing around, and you're not necessarily, thinking. And that is where a lot of people are at the moment. And you can see it. You can see it in rush hour in the morning.
Indeed.
So society as a whole is generally drawn into this stressful cycle. And then you've got the polarities between technologies. So you've got TV, for instance, and it starts when people stay up too late at night. And then it rolls around into the morning when people have, they've had a deficit in sleep, and then they're going out and they're going to the drive-through for the coffee, for example.
You keep looking at my coffee. My junk coffee. My junk coffee.
And it goes from there. So there's a cycle. There's a 24-hour cycle in a day, obviously, and people don't have enough sleep, and they're that's the starting point for the day, and then they're hooked on caffeine, which I'm not kind of saying it's all bad, but
but no,
there's like a general overdose of caffeine
and an over-reliance. I need coffee as opposed to I want coffee.
And mix that in with general stresses, your job, etc. And then it's a bad start to each day. And that's kind of where we are at the moment. Not everybody, but No,
if you took a percentage of the population, you could argue that there's quite a high percentage like that. And you do see them. I went to a popular coffee provider this morning. I'm not going to say the name. And the first thing I said to you was like, oh, it's like junk coffee. Yeah, it's like, you know, you get junk food, you got junk coffee. You know, I sometimes like my coffee sprayed with pesticides and herbicides and the rest of it. But within that, it was a drive-through, and there was a massive amount of cars there. I went inside, and there's a big queue of people, you know, queuing up for what is in essence caffeine, sugar, and fat. And all I wanted, you know, was a small cappuccino. You know, that's all I wanted. But when you look at the majority of what people are actually buying, it's, you know, the person in front of me said, I want a large cappuccino and 2 extra shots of espresso. Like 2 extra shots, on what planet do you need that?
The other thing is, you mentioned it was a drive-through.
Yes.
So you've got the convenience factor there as well.
Yeah, just wind your window down.
So, you know, life nowadays is built around convenience.
Yeah.
And is usually, that's one end of the spectrum, is the convenience side. And then you've got the health side on the other. So they never normally go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps sometimes they do, but not very often. So when you've got a drive-through coffee place, you know, it kind of almost doesn't ooze health.
Yeah.
And the other factor is, when we're talking about coffee, is a lot of people buy large coffees. Yeah. Now, coffee is about the taste, not necessarily about the size of the coffee. Yeah. And it's also where it's sourced from.
Yes, yeah.
And there's many popular brands out there that aren't necessarily, let's say, the highest of quality.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't think about that. They just think about having a large coffee, you know, and the convenience factor.
I think the convenience and the pure caffeine, you know, it's mind altering. You haven't slept. You need to alter your mind to get you through the day, and you know what greater taxable drug can you get other than caffeine? You know, and that's what people go for.
There's not enough alternatives that people are exposed to. Coffee's great. I drink coffee as well, and I just feel that people aren't exposed to a more simpler alternatives that would be better for their health.
Yeah.
You know, for example, you know, meditation, whether that be a walk, you know, in the park, or, you know, I don't know, 10 press ups or whatever it is, or whatever anybody's interpretation of that is, there are healthier options. And it's almost as though from Monday to Friday, it's a kind of an unhealthy ritual to be going through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you're aware, in the morning I'll try and do some Wim Hof breathing. Yeah. And in the afternoon, and the Wim Hof breathing it's like someone's plugged me into the mains. It's like, wow, yeah, you know, supercharges me.
I like that as well. I like doing some form of meditation. If it's for 10 minutes or so, it's kind of a good round number. It's easy to do, and I feel it probably makes you more productive through the rest of the day. Yeah. And I try and get out in the mornings in the sunlight as well. Yeah. And it could just be walking around the block. Yeah. So I find simple things like that make you a healthier person, and it really isn't that difficult. Yeah. But I guess if you don't know, then you're always going to be looking perhaps for a quick fix.
Yes, definitely.
And there's quite a few of those out there.
And I think that's the key point. If you don't know, you know, there is a degree of ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance in a derogatory or negative way, but just a general not knowing. I mean, I see your pictures on Instagram when you're in your garden barefoot, you know, doing lunges and stuff. You know, I love all that. You know, it is. You know, I know you mentioned things like grounding and, you know, or earthing, you know, as it's also referred to as, and, you know, really kind of, I think it really makes you more present. I mean, if you think about just how the foot's built, you know, you've got all these nerves, all these joints, they're able to absorb the ground, feel the energy, movement becomes a lot better. I mean, is that kind of... Is that why you do it, or is there a deeper connection? Is there
I like touching the floor with my feet when I can.
Yes, yeah.
And I get that there's kind of perhaps some healthy reasons for doing that, but I just like the general feel of connecting with the ground. Now, whether that's for, just to feel good, or whether there's a spiritual reason for it, then I just like doing that.
Yeah, 'cause it feels good. Yeah.
Well, the fact that we wear shoes, most people wear shoes their whole lives, and sometimes indoors.
Yeah.
So they never really get any connection to the ground.
Yeah.
And then that goes on to me wearing the minimal shoes, the 5 fingers, the Vibram 5 fingers, the Vivo barefoot type shoe.
Yeah.
I do that out of a function, not necessarily to look cool, but I think they look particularly, I think they look quite good anyway. But I think I just wear them to actually function quite well, or feel that I function well. And not only that, they're good for gym exercise as well.
Yeah.
So if you take, for example, a deadlift or a lunge, then I feel I have a much better connection to the ground. Whereas if I was wearing, an alternative brand, I might have too much cushioning under the foot. So if you go into the area of exercise, then barefoot is good.
Yeah.
Just be aware of flying weights around you. That's all.
But do you find if you're wearing some of those minimalist shoes, I mean, I've got my experiences on it, but do you get funny looks? Is it a case of, do you find it almost offends people when you wear them?
Yeah, I mean, I could exit the gym, the gym world, and head into town, and not even realise, I'm in a different kind of environment, and then all of a sudden I can get some dirty looks.
Yeah.
For sure, it definitely offends people, because I feel that their perspective or view of why I'm wearing a shoe is because I'm trying to make a statement.
Yes.
And it's not about that. It's just I like wearing those shoes.
Yeah.
And they can look a bit odd because they go against the grain of what people think is normal.
Yeah.
But they are healthier shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
They're better for my feet.
Yeah.
So I mean, I will always wear those shoes. I have some ordinary shoes as well, where I do squash my toes, but I just generally like wearing those shoes most of the time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I especially things like running. So in the last podcast I did, I was talking about running and minimalist running. But not just running, like things like deadlifts and squats. It feels so much better. You get so much better ground reaction force, and that creates a whole chain of events that happens all the way up the body, all the way up to the base of your skull. And I just think that if you're under the certain belief that you need, say, like the weightlifting shoes, everyone seems to buy. Yeah. It's become the new spinning shoe. You remember when spinning came out, everyone was wearing the cleats and walking around in them.
Oh, yes.
Now it's Olympic lifting, everyone's buying the weightlifting shoes. And I've got nothing against those shoes. They are what they are. But I would say not everyone needs them, and more people probably need to feel something, feel the ground, feel what it's like when you're pushing the ground away and lifting a heavy weight. Without straps, without anything, but relying on your biomechanics, your joint position, your breathing. And again, it comes back to me, weightlifting almost becomes a more spiritual practice. It's about becoming present with everything. You, the ground, against gravity and the rest of it. And I know it might be going a bit deep for a deadlift and people are going, what?
Yeah.
But it is a case of that's what I get out of it. And the minimalist shoes definitely allow me to execute that a lot more efficiently. So I'm definitely with you on that.
Yeah, just going back to the gym, the weightlifting shoe, I think a lot of people wear them purely for the fact that other people are wearing them. So it is like everyone's copying each other because that way you kind of get respected, if you know what I mean. I don't think, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's probably people that wear them due to the fact that they've got less ankle mobility, but I think there's like almost a cool element to wearing them.
Definitely.
Or using them. And that's why you don't see many people in the gym wearing the Vibrams, the Vivos, or any minimal shoes. And that's just the way people tend to conform, they just kind of attach themselves to something, and that's the norm for them, and I kind of go against the grain, I guess. But a lot of people I train, I wear the minimal shoes as well. It's not like I've pressured them into wearing them. They just kind of like,
these, I got them in the boot of my car.
Making some money out of it. But there's a general interest in why I'm wearing them, and I'm not surprised, but I feel that a lot more people would benefit from wearing them.
Yeah.
But but it is, it's the connection with the ground.
Yeah.
And how it feels,
Okay, so just moving on, you mentioned about training clients. So I guess, what sort of clients do you get, and what's your kind of starting process in how to train people? Because, we've spoken about kind of health, and if, little things like more people will just walk outside, health will improve. So where do you tend to, I guess, start with someone, and just run me through kind of.
Well, first and foremost, most people who come to see me want to feel better.
Okay.
There's never normally somebody that wants to, I just want to lose weight for my holiday. It's more of somebody that wants to feel better and move better, and the byproduct of doing the exercises we do is going to be weight loss anyway. So there's no real out and out emphasis placed on losing weight, because we know if we implement certain habits, then we're going to get that anyway. But from a starting point, it is all about the free movements. It is all about the free weights. It is about the patterns. So it is about lunge, squat, bend, push, pull, twist, crawl, all these sorts of things. We want to make people better outside of the gym.
Yeah.
There's a corrective element in there as well, where if there is something like forward head posture, or classic case of rounded shoulders, then we do work on the corrective side. So we will work on certain exercises that will pull them back into position, or the right posture, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So people come to you because they want to feel better, and you kind of take them through a variety of, I guess, different varieties. So you mentioned, the bend to extend, the lunge, squat, push, pull, rotation, and so on, like the basic human movements. I guess when you're training someone, what are you? So they want to feel better. But when, I guess, you're training someone, kind of, do you go into elements of, spirituality? Do you go into elements of nutrition? How deep do you go?
Sometimes it's more than the exercise itself. So sometimes you really need to get into the person's life and see where they're at. And it is a case of, getting to know them on a good level, and where their habits are, and what their bad habits are. And then just kind of fine-tuning them along the way, and just pointing them in the right direction, and saying, you might want to try this. This is quite good. This is a healthy alternative. Things like that. So whether it be with food, or just the way their day is planned, for example, there could be little things in a day they could do or perform. We spoke about meditation. It could be little areas like that in a day they could start doing things. And so it's not from a physical perspective. We learn about the foods, and if they go shopping in the supermarket, for example, how do they approach the foods they're buying, or what reasons do they have for buying a certain food? And it's more. There's a kind of an education process on the food. And a lot of people do realize that, but sometimes it's nice to have a reinforcement from myself, and that way it becomes more concrete in their mind in what they should be doing, and how they should do things. But for sure, it's not just. Sometimes it's more than the exercise. Sometimes it's about the chat, and it's the takeaway, the information they take away from the gym. And the exercise is not always, but sometimes it's secondary. But But yeah.
So I guess because you actually hit the nail on the head with actually the next point I wanted to raise. So you mentioned kind of, it's the takeaways, it's the little things in your mind, and I appreciate it's going to put you on the spot. I know I'm a bit of a sod. Are there like one thing or like a few things that you could kind of give people now, say in essence, do this, it will definitely improve your life today?
Simple things you can do. I would say hydrate more. Try and get good quality water on board, especially in the morning. Having been to sleep for, let's say, 8 hours, the first thing in the morning, just hydrate.
Yeah.
Maybe 500 to 600 mils of water. I mean, I find that is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
Other areas, I mean, most people spend their time indoors. They go from the house, they go to the workplace, they go to the supermarket, they come back to the house, and they never see the light of day.
Yeah.
So I would say try and get outdoors more.
Yeah.
And try and limit TV time. I mean, that's easy. That's an area where we can be hypnotized into watching a lot of TV due to the fact that, everyone tends to have one.
The fact that Netflix is awesome.
Yeah. And there are things that draw you in, for sure. I get that. Yeah. But I think if you can get regular sleep time from 10 p.m. roughly at night, every day or almost every day, then you're almost kind of setting some healthy habits in place already.
Yeah.
And then general movement. Most people don't move often enough.
Yes.
So they could be gym goers that go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week that really work hard for those 4 or 5 hours. Yet they go back to their workplace, whether it be in the car or sat down in the office, and they are just sedentary for that long periods of time.
Yeah.
So I don't think people move often enough. And the other, the high quality foods, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say place emphasis on the quality of the food you invest in.
Yeah.
Rather than this food has 0 calories and this is low fat.
Yeah.
And it's simple when you know. But if you could, it might just take somebody just to write these things down.
Yeah.
If you could write a few goals or a few points down that you could work on for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it might be 3 or 4 things max.
Yeah. And
if you did that, then you could automatically become, you could have better energy, you could feel better, your mood could be better.
Yeah.
You could interact with people better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about that. Sometimes the health and fitness, it's all about how you communicate with people. It's not necessarily about how much weight you can lift.
Yes.
You could be the best. You could be the best at squats. You could be the best at deadlifts. But if you're the best at those for half an hour each day, and you're sitting slouching for the rest of the day, then that doesn't necessarily mean much, really, does it?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't. An hour in a gym doesn't undo. The average Brit in the average UK resident actually sits anywhere, depending on what website you look at, anywhere between 11 to 14 hours per day. And that 1 hour in a gym does not undo 14 hours worth of sitting. That's why it's health and fitness.
Yeah, so you've got the other end of the spectrum. So you've got the person that overtrains, that is in the gym every day. Now, this might be an area where they're really, really good at. They're really good at gym. They can do everything in the gym really well, but it might be that they're only good at the gym and they're unbalanced in other areas. Yeah. So they might not be good at, socializing with somebody. They might not necessarily be good at the sort of foods, the foods they ingest. They might not be good at getting outside, but they're really good at gym. Now, when you look at the holistic approach, it's about being good at everything. It's about getting, waking up in the morning and making your bed. It's about, taking on board adequate water. It's about kind of communicating with people in, a healthy way. There's loads.
Yeah.
There's lots to it. It's not just the physical side. And it's not just the gym side. It's not about what protein shake you take. And that's where I come in. That's my approach.
Nice. Okay. So I guess further on from that, when you go into the gym, and this is not about outing your colleagues, by the way. When you go into the gym, or when you go into any gym, is there there's how you train people. What would you say is the ideal personal trainer? What like if you were going to have a personal trainer, what would you look for?
Well, somebody that's got to hold a slight conversation and share similar traits to myself, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who's interested in me. If I wanted a personal trainer, I would want them to look healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have a bit of a glow about them. To be professional.
Yeah.
And to keep the gym tidy.
Yeah.
I can't believe it sometimes when the gym is in a mess and I'm forever tidying my environment up. That's quite important to me, to have a tidy environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could have a trainer, I'd want him to be tidy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want a trainer that leans on things and slouches.
Yeah.
Because that promotes, or that gives off an air of sluggishness to me.
Yeah.
And lack of energy.
Yeah.
And a personal trainer should have energy.
Yeah.
A personal trainer should be the one that gives off, oozes energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's if I was going to have a trainer, it'd be like that.
I agree. I think a PT should be the person who's plugged into the mains of the universe. Who should be like, wow, that person, there's planets orbiting that person. I want to invest. I want a bit of what that person's got, or I want to know how are they doing that. I want to know. That for me kind of speaks volumes. And I've just finished the first weekend of the PT diploma with students, and how I ended the weekend was just that. It was how we should be, and my point was. And this kind of links back to your Men's Health cover thing, is that I don't think every personal trainer needs to look like the cover of Men's or Women's Fitness and so on. But I think they should look like their product they're selling. So if you're in body transformations, well then, and someone's going to purchase, well, you should look ripped. Okay? Because why would I, if you're overweight
For sure.
and you're selling body transformations, why would I invest in that, in something you can't do?
For sure.
But, if you're a power lifter, and you lift heavy weights and you're a strong man and blah, 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 and I want to get strong, then I'm going to invest in that.
Sure.
So yes, when you mention things about traits, well, yeah, what was the saying I heard the other day? Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
I love that saying.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it. And that is so true. And yeah, if I was getting a PT, I'd be looking at someone who can hold a conversation, someone who I actually get along with, but someone who has something that maybe I don't have, but I want a part of.
Yes.
Like that. Like if I feel like there's a missing piece to something that I'm doing, I'm like, something's just not right. Then I will try and invest in what I guess perceive is missing. And I'll be like, how much do you cost? Yeah, okay, it's well worth it.
For sure. I mean, everybody has their own style on things, and there are niches like powerlifting, for example. But I think a lot of people out there want somebody who can make them feel better, ultimately, whether they know that or not.
Yeah.
And exactly as you said, if somebody is into body transformation, and they look absolutely ripped, I don't necessarily think that is the right trainer for everybody. I think it's perhaps if somebody's going to a competition, for sure, they could follow this person. Whether they would feel better is another matter.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it from an aesthetic point of view, a lot of people who are ripped and have 5% body fat don't feel good. Yeah. So I think generally speaking, most people just want to feel, look, move better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, nice. So what do you think is like the missing piece in the fitness industry at the moment? Do you think the fitness industry as a whole is good, bad? Do you think there's certain areas that need improving? I mean, just on your experience.
Well, there's certain areas that need improving. I think the qualification can be taken in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to be a trainer, you need to be able to have people skills.
Yeah.
Life experience is key.
Yeah.
Because when you're working with people face to face, it's quite important. And as I mentioned earlier, I think we just scratched the surface with it all. I think there's too much emphasis placed on just almost like a weight loss deficit and weights, and that's it. That's all it is. So I think there could be areas of improvement for sure.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the yoga is becoming quite a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's an alternative to pushing weights and doing too much cardio, for example.
Yeah.
Which is another area where I think people fall down is they come into the gym and do too much cardio. Literally, they just run on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Now, I understand if somebody's running a marathon or they're into running, that's all good and well. But if somebody's coming into the gym and they're running on a treadmill and they don't know why they're doing it, then there's...
Technically, that's called a hamster, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of almost like when people walk into the gym, they feel they need to train really, really hard before the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's almost as though they can get away with whatever they're going to do on the weekend. Yeah. An over consumption of alcohol or food or whatever. And if they train really hard on the Friday, then it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's like the Friday and the Monday. It's like a purge, isn't it? It's again, they're training not from a place of love. They're training from purging their body out of guilt.
Yes.
And I remember when I used to run gyms and so on, and every January, the New Year's resolution.
Sure.
But I'm not saying this is everyone, by the way, but people kind of start on January 2nd, January 3rd as a way of purging what they've done. They went, I need to lose weight, a new year, new you, and all of that. But they thrash themselves in the gym. I mean, really thrash themselves. You got PX90, HIIT training, and the rest of it. And they really go to town, and they kill themselves for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then they disappear. And they disappear because I think it's just non-sustainable to purge yourself on a consistent basis. And yes, I think you kind of alluded to the missing pieces. Just go out for a walk sometimes in the sun, just do a bit of meditation, do a bit of yoga. But the recovery side is kind of that place of love for yourself, doing things actually input into the system. And I know the Paul Chek and the Chek Institute state, working in as opposed to working out. You're putting back in.
For sure, you're
almost making an investment in yourself.
You're charging the battery.
Yes.
And you can do that when you go outside and get some sunlight. You can do that when you take some time for yourself. And what you'll probably find is, as you said, in January, people come to the gym 5 times a week. They'll start a gym in January, come to the gym 5 times a week. And by mid-March, for example, they might drop off.
Yeah.
Now, it's a healthier option is to come once a week for the year.
Yeah.
So it's baby steps when you're kind of getting into that zone. And yeah, you might want to lose weight. Just come to the gym once a week, enjoy it, and just do, smart exercises. And if you don't know, seek advice.
Yeah, definitely. It's a funny thing though, the different reasons why people train, and yet you'll still get PTs where their consultation is on the side of a treadmill during a 5-minute warm-up. Why are you here? Why do you want to train? And that's as deep as they get. And I kind of think, you've really missed the trick on this one. Like you're going to be a one-hit wonder. You're going to be a good hustler on the gym, session to session, cash in hand job. But you're not going to really make real sustainable.
Exactly, that's the word.
Yeah.
I think if that's the example, then they may get results for a short period, but it just goes back to the thought process of are they going to feel good doing it?
Yeah.
And, the gym should be a place of, not about necessarily losing weight on the face of it. It should be a place of creativity and doing stuff where you're moving your body. When you got a gym, most gyms they've got fixed base resistance machines, which are pretty much built around bodybuilding, and people are almost stuck in either on a treadmill or a machine. And they're not actually moving their body in ways in which it moves outside of the gym.
Yeah.
So there's no correlation. You can only be good at the gym. You're not necessarily good outside of the gym. So that's where, I like to introduce perhaps some movements that are natural to the body. And it's healthier for the on the physical side, but it also keeps you thinking upstairs as well.
Yeah.
Because you might have like a lunge and a press, for example, which asks a lot of the brain. It's quite neurological in that sense.
Yeah.
So it's a workout for the mind as well as the body.
Yeah.
And I think people don't necessarily get that. And it's nice when I have new people to introduce them to that if they're not aware of that.
Yeah.
But obviously you only know when you know.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So it's not like having to go at people that just use machines or spend all their time on a treadmill.
Yeah.
That's part and parcel of the job, is to introduce people to new exercises and
variety.
That's what I like doing, and I like to expose people to that, and help them, and that's why I do the job.
Yeah, nice. But if you, I've obviously stalked you, so I've watched you train and the rest of it, and the style is is very to the point, deep at times, but there's also I get the feeling there's a relaxed atmosphere about it. It's not up in your face, up in your grill, do this, one more. It's not about that. But if you look at the way the other, not necessarily personal trainers, but the other way general people train, they're almost based off an ideology, and the ideology is the only way to know. So you mentioned about people just come in the gym and just run endlessly, like excessive cardio. And I do think if people knew that excessive cardio actually led to an increase in things like cortisol response, our stress hormone, which increases things like blood sugar, inflammation, decreases immune response. And we're talking about excessive cardio, people going to the gym like for an hour. And like you mentioned, if someone's training for a marathon, well then that's specific. But they still need to get everything in balance, still need to do the recovery bits and things like you mentioned the yoga. And on the way over here, I was thinking about analogies and kind of how yoga is now. And people say, yoga's becoming like the big thing amongst guys and weightlifting and so on. And there's a certain amount of semantics with it, because I'm a yoga teacher, and sometimes I want to step in and say, okay, you're doing yoga. Yoga actually is a way of life.
For sure, yeah.
You mean yoga asanas. You mean the movement part of it. But, yoga is a practice on the way to spiritual enlightenment. And we know there's many ways of getting there, and you have your way of doing it, because we mentioned the spirituality of things. But I don't think people really appreciate the depths of all these little nuances in the gym and the rabbit hole that they can go down. And I like the fact that you keep it, you can go as deep as you need to with your clients, but also if they need to, keep it quite superficial. I mean, would you say that's quite accurate with how you train, maybe?
Yeah, everybody's an individual.
Yeah.
You can train some harder than others, obviously. You're well aware of that. But yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah. I try, I want people to leave the gym feeling better than they walked in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely a main point for me. That's not to say I don't give people a workout.
Yeah.
We push it sometimes, but it's all individual.
Yeah.
Some people need more working in, so they need to, gain energy rather than spend it.
Yeah.
And they'll probably find they get what they want from doing that.
Yeah.
So it might be that we kind of take time out in the studio and we do things where it's more kind of breath based and it's more slower movements, and it can replicate actual gym exercise. When you're talking about, if we go into the chi aspect or the energy building exercises, they can replicate exercises you do in the gym, squats or deadlifts, for example. But it can be more focused around the speed of the breath, rather than too much emphasis on the movement, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the breath will dictate the speed of the exercise rather than you just like you normally would with a deadlift. You know, but it can kind of replicate the pattern. And a lot of people might need more of the building of energy rather than the spending of it.
Yeah.
And they'll probably find that they get what they want, even if they don't realise that.
Yeah.
Take, for example, somebody that commutes to London every day. They've got a stressful job.
Yeah.
And they've got a 12-hour kind of window where they're at work and travelling to and from work.
Yeah.
And they're likely going to be stressed out. I'm not saying they 100% are, but let's take, for example, somebody's got a stressful job and they've got all that travelling involved. I take this as more of a person that might need more energy building rather than spending.
Yeah.
So you have to get the balance right with everybody. Some people are athletes and they need more of the working out.
Yeah.
But when somebody walks into the gym and they go into a gym class and it's a, I don't know, PX90 class or something.
Yeah.
And it's the start of the year and they're well overweight and they're doing these movements that their body isn't capable of doing, then I think that's not good.
Yeah.
I think it's highly stressful for the body that's already stressed.
Yeah. No, I agree. I used to, as a sports rehabilitator, there's certain stages, certain times a year where I'll get an influx of people kind of wanting my services a lot more. And I remember shortly after, remember the Nintendo Wii?
Oh yeah.
Shortly after that came out with the tennis and stuff, people used to go, I've hurt my shoulder. And I'm like, well, what were you doing? I was playing tennis. I'm like, oh, you're a tennis player? Sort of.
Yeah, brilliant.
I was playing Nintendo Wii. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And at the time I remember thinking, what's the Nintendo Wii? I'm like so behind.
Yeah.
And then I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, you're thrashing your arm around. There's no connection, so there's no like external force that will try and equalize it. So you're really just ripping your shoulder out of your socket. And then when what was it? PX90. What was the other one? Insanity. That's it. When Insanity when it came out, I saw, and I want to make clear, I don't have anything against Insanity or HIIT training. It definitely has its place, but if you've been sitting on your ass for 20 years in front of a computer, maybe working in IT, the next logical step is not Insanity. It is a case of move a bit more gradually over time, not go from zero to hero in the space of 10 minutes and then die. And that's what I was finding. People were going, oh, I've torn my knee up, my hip hurts. And it was always around kind of the end of January period. I'm like, okay, what happens? Well, I did this new class called Insanity and my mate said it was really good, and it was, but I almost died.
Well, there's some trainers that might promote it to people that come to the gym straight away. Yeah. They've had limited gym experience or limited movement and they go straight into that. Yeah. Which is crazy, really.
Yeah. Where's the assessment?
Well, there's no movement. There might not be, but I'm sure in some cases there's no movement assessment. Or see how do they do this? How do they do that? And then they're just straight into a class where it's too overpowering. Yeah. And then obviously the individual gives up after a period of time because it's too much hard work. Yeah. So as you said, Insanity, it's good for a type of person. Yeah. But definitely not for the individual who's sat down and doesn't move much, for sure. Yeah. And once the lifestyle change, that's not it. Well, it's not it in the beginning. maybe further down the line.
Yeah, further down the line as part of like a periodized program, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah, and that's where, we touched on the subject where things can be improved.
Yeah.
Or there could be a bit more information out there to suggest that, if you're a beginner, then that's not the way to go. Because you might find you put on weight.
Yeah.
You're stressing the body too much, and you're working out to an excess where you might take on more food, calories, or whatever.
Exactly that, yeah.
So you're
creating a bigger deficit.
Exactly. So
a lot of people just aren't aware of that, are they? I mean, you create a bigger deficit, so you may inadvertently eat more. Your muscles store more glycogen. For every gram of glycogen, 9 ounces of water. And people go, oh, I've put on weight. Oh, this isn't working. I'm like, well, there's a transition period. It's actually quicker to store energy in the muscle than it is to burn fat. There is a transition period.
Well, you'll know that when you go to the gym anyway. If you train, you'll probably find yourself hungrier.
Yeah.
During that day, you might crave more protein, for example.
Yeah. But if you haven't established those healthy food habits, then you're going to default to what you know or crave.
And the other thing is, you might be at a point where you're numbed to not realizing what you need.
Yeah.
So if you're out of touch with yourself, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
You might just be feeding your body empty calories.
Yeah, rubbish. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, beer and burger at Wetherspoons.
Wow.
Do not do that.
Yeah. Sometimes.
yeah. There's like its place, but its place isn't before or after training or as part of a healthy fitness lifestyle program.
There is time for that sort of thing sometimes. I mean, I think you have to take into the context of the when you're eating that, suboptimal foods, for example. If you're eating, if you're going to go out and eat less high quality foods, fair enough, I get that. It might work in your favor if the you might be having fun, you might be having kind of like a good time. I mean, that might outweigh the poor quality foods you're consuming,
Yeah.
So I don't write off bad foods or guilty pleasures or anything like that. For sure, eat those sometimes. I'm not overly strict in that concept.
It's generally called the middle way, the common ground. When it is funny. I promise you, I can link anything to anything. I'm going to link what you just said to Buddhism. Prepare yourself. Yeah. So, when I was in Dharamsala in North India, the Tibetan monks there, Buddhist monks, practiced the middle way. So every Sunday, they, in essence, had the day off.
Right.
So they basically had a beer, they smoked, they intermixed with the locals. And it's a way of making Buddhism accessible. Like, we're not different. We have more in common. And it was a middle ground. It was a balance.
Yeah.
One day a week, they were allowed to do that. The rest of the time, it was dedication, 2 bowls of rice a day. It was, meditation constantly. But that Sunday, they'd take the day off.
Yeah.
And I thought, it really kind of is that life in balance. Me and you, between us, we could probably, preach, a good kind of do this, X equals Y, but where's the balance? Because that may alienate a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're holier than thou. What shall I do? But it is that balance. I mentioned earlier, I had a junk coffee this morning. Most of my coffee is organic and fresh, and I've gone up a mountain and picked a bean with my own hand. I haven't, but you see what I mean. But every now and then, it's balance. I like to, and it was a pro surfer that said this. It may be Laird Hamilton or it might be Kelly Slater. I think it's Laird Hamilton that said, I like to think I can have a Big Mac every now and then, purely because I believe my body, my spirit, everything is built on such a solid foundation that I can take that hit. Yeah,
for sure.
I can take that hit. I've got a solid foundation. I can take that hit.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. And I think if you build on a solid foundation, then your house can take a storm. now and then. Do you
Yeah, for
agree?
sure.
Yeah.
The 80-20 rule kind of
Yeah.
resonates there. And yeah, there are people out there who are so strict. You know, you get the gym rat type of people that tend to eat chicken, broccoli every day.
We see them on Instagram.
And that is almost a stress in itself.
Yeah.
You know, they might be out for dinner and they might be nitpicking on the menu to saying, asking the waiter or waitress, can you take this out of the food? And that, for me, is the worst way to be. So yeah, there's different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, generally speaking, I try to eat well, and I get a sense of what food might be right for me. And, and I do look at foods when I go to the supermarket or wherever. I do think about maybe where they came from.
Yeah.
You know, so I do have that kind of thought process. I'm aware when aware when I'm buying the foods. And more often than not, I try to, buy organic foods. Yeah. Because I know that this is going to be better for the planet as well as myself. So I look on a worldly perspective as well. But yeah, I mean, that's just my kind of connection to foods. But sometimes I can eat something that's not great, and sometimes I do have a Danish or a piece of cake.
My goodness.
Yeah. That makes us human,
Yeah, definitely.
There needs to be some sort of... There's always going to be sugar there, for sure.
Yeah.
I know it's not the greatest, but sometimes the body might need that,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely don't disagree. I'd be a hypocrite if I did, to be fair. I just think, I think it's that you're right in saying it's different ends of the spectrum. And I think sometimes it's easy to tell ourselves stories to justify certain behaviours. I know in certain groups of people that I see, we talk about banana, and you'd be surprised how much controversy there is on a banana. Everyone goes, oh, banana's high in sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, don't eat a banana.
Instant energy.
Yeah, you can't eat banana, it's too much sugar. And yet, when I show them, because we do like this little food workshop, when I show them a bag of Maltesers, minstrels or anything, there's actually less said about it. And although I'm not a calories person, I start on calories because it's like a common language now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone knows about it. So I start on, okay, how many calories do you think are in a banana? And everyone will say really wild numbers. I'm like, on average, it's 100 calories, give or take 10 calories. How many calories do you think are in the average packet of Maltesers? And people go, if the banana's 100, maybe 200. And generally everyone knows what bad is, but they don't know how bad is bad.
Right.
And I'm like, Maltesers, 500 calories.
Wow.
And they're like, 500 calories. I'm like, yeah. There's about 2.5 days worth of refined sugar that the average human can actually stand. And I can eat that in 2 minutes.
Wow.
So where do you think the issue is? They're like, is it the banana? Do you think the banana's the reason for disease? Or, and before I finish, people go, oh, right, yeah. And it's the realization is we generally know what good and bad is, generally speaking, but I don't think we appreciate how good can be and how bad really is.
Yeah, I mean the nutrients in a banana far outweigh its kind of like negatives. I think it is a medium to high GI food anyway, isn't it? I think it gives you instant energy.
It depends on how ripe it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the ripeness.
Okay, so if it's kind of midway,
perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. You get the right flavour, the right amount of fibre. It's perfect.
So I always go on what tennis players always eat bananas. So it gives generally gives an instant energy fix.
Yeah. Tennis players generally eat just between overripe and ripe. They generally eat that. So I'm obviously I've been scrutinising tennis during the recovery, and when you watch them eat banana, it's not quite got all the spots over it, but it's almost there. And that means basically the fibres decreased and it gives them a faster release of energy.
Right, agree.
Whereas if you're having trouble stabilising blood sugar level, you probably don't want that in your life. You probably want something more on the green side. But as I put to people, there's an interesting stat with just bananas. Like if you eat a banana a day, day, it lowers your chance of coronary heart disease by 25%.
Keeps the doctor away.
Exactly. It doesn't mean 4 bananas makes you immortal, but it's the law of diminishing returns after that. But the potassium within it is the opposing force to sodium, so it pulls moisture out of the blood cells, stabilizes blood pressure.
Wow.
And I've had that discussion with a doctor once, and they went, "Oh,
Oh yeah.
didn't know that." I'm like, "Well, there you go." Because basically, this one doctor said, "Oh, you shouldn't eat bananas; they're high in sugar." I'm like, "Really? Right? Are we going to have this discussion now?"
Yeah.
And it wasn't me trying to belittle anyone. It was a case of, okay, let's get both sides of the coin, both sides of the argument.
For sure.
I'm not saying bananas are good or bad. I'm just saying I don't think they're horrendous as most people believe. And they're probably not on the other side. They're probably not the pure health food that people believe.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for them, just like anything.
For sure. And you would much rather see school kids eating that.
Hell yeah.
And I was in the supermarket yesterday, and I see this a lot. If I happen to be in the supermarket, when school's out, a lot of teenager kids flock to the candy or sweets or chocolate aisle.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember when I was at that age. Was it always the case of doing that? I mean, was it with yourself? What?
Yes. Like I remember going to the corner shop and you get like 10p bags of sweets, and I ate all of that stuff. The difference, I had 12-hour games of football on the field with my friends.
Yeah.
We made excuses to go outside.
Right.
We climbed trees. We ran around.
For sure, yeah.
So the difference was we expended an awful lot of energy constantly.
Yeah.
Rain, it could be tipping it down. I loved being outside. I wanted to be there. Inside was a place of doom and gloom.
Right.
So the motivation was different. The energy expenditure was different. Yeah, you're a kid, you're immortal. You can eat whatever you want, but if you're eating whatever you want, sitting on your ass, doing nothing, and then, and I don't mean to offend any parents, but as a parent myself, if you're making excuses then as to why your child shouldn't do, say, PE, for instance, then I think it's a bad call, in all honesty.
I totally 100% agree.
I think PE as a whole, and I will defend PE, a lot of people say, oh, it's just physical education, we should focus on academics. But actually the research states you learn discipline, it improves cognitive performance, it improves health long term. We know that kids who play sport at school are more likely to carry healthy practices later in life. It has this far-reaching consequence that I think a lot of people really miss the trick with.
Yeah, simply put, I think we're designed to move, and we don't get enough movement in school. And perhaps at an early age as well, because I've got a daughter, and I think movement should be placed at top of the list. And being outside and getting your hands dirty. Yeah. And I don't think there is enough emphasis placed on that. I think that at an early age, it is all about, things like joined up writing, which I don't think is quite as important. I think that will come anyway. Yeah. And I think the system's slightly wrong in that sense. And you can start at the core, and you can start with children of an early age, then more physical activity is key, because that way it might create a pattern where they are less likely to be more geared towards technology, which you can't escape. Yeah, definitely. And I get that the screen time is going to happen, but whenever do you see kids outside playing? Rarely. And when you and I were young, as you said, we would be playing football, or we'd be playing, run-outs or whatever. And you just don't see too much of that nowadays. Which is a shame. And it's a vicious cycle, isn't it? So, and when you go into the movement side, people at a later age in life can't move well because they've missed out on that time when they're young. And they've lost the ability to move well. So their physical bodies of a physical body of 50 is actually a 20-year-old. Which is a shame, physically and mentally. This is why I feel we have a lot of problems with mental health as well, because they they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I've got pretty much one more question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And it really is kind of, you can share with as much you want to, really. So there's how you train clients, okay, but how you train yourself. Are there things that you would do to yourself, or things that you would try out that maybe you wouldn't give to your clients, or any kind of secrets that you have that you kind of implement on yourself? Anything you do?
Secrets. I'm trying to think of secrets.
Secret might be the wrong word, to be fair.
I have a cheese stick. It's just over there.
Okay.
You can see it.
So explain what a cheese stick is.
A cheese stick. The idea is to hold it between the palms.
So you're saying chi, not cheese.
Not cheese.
So not a cheese stick.
CHI or QI. I have a cheese stick. I spend about 10 minutes, not every day. I'm not going to say every day, but I find that if I use this cheese stick between my palms and I do some circles with it and I kind of get into a flow with the breathing pattern. Yeah. That is something I do every day.
Okay, nice.
So it's not necessarily a secret. I mean, I pass it on to other people I train. Yeah. In terms of daily practices, I think I said at the beginning, I try and get outside. Yeah. Whether it be for 10 minutes a day just to get in sunlight. Yeah. Sometimes we like to see how many steps we can walk. Yeah. If we're going to go out on a walk. Yeah. Sometimes we do need a bit of a gauge. Yeah. And it's quite, it can become a bit of kind of competition. Yeah. Nice. With yourself. Yeah. So that's outside of the gym. Inside of the gym, I experiment with different exercises for sure. And I try and pass on certain things to clients who I feel that may benefit from it for sure. Yeah. Whether that be with a Swiss ball, that can be quite inventive, or perhaps things I might have seen on social media, which I think, that's kind of cool. I'll use that. Okay, nice. It could be like a crawl, or a variation of a crawl. But it all comes down to the simple kind of, how would you say it, the naturalist type of movements in the gym. Yeah. So there'll always be a pattern involved that you might perform outside of the gym. Nice. Yeah. Cool. So last thing, where can people find you? Mainly on Instagram. Under LD Health _exercise _coach. Or I have a Facebook page, facebook.com/LD Health and Exercise, or my website, lewisdutch.com, LOUISDUTCH.com. I haven't been on there in a while, actually. It might need updating. Probably update that. Yeah. Or my email @lewisdutch.com. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you, Lewis, for your time. And awesome. Great work. Cheers. Yeah, good chat. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for the One Zen Academy podcast. I hope you found this beneficial. For more information, go to www.onezenacademy.com. That's onezenacademy, all one word, .com. My name's been Kieran. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.